Hey everybody, this is D Hunter bringing another action figure review. Today we're going to be looking at the DC Collectibles Batman the Animated Series Mr. Freeze action figure. Now this is not the first time they've released this particular Mr. Freeze figure. He was originally released in a 5-pack multi-pack called the GCPD Rogues Gallery Pack. That set was quite expensive and seemed to sell out everywhere. The figures ended up being very expensive, and I saw a lot of fans begging for DC Collectibles to release these as singles, which I honestly never thought they'd do, but here they are. So let's go and check out the packaging here. As you can see in the background, this guy is from Batman the Animated Series, not the new Batman Adventures. They did previously release a Mr. Freeze figure for the new Batman Adventures. Batman the Animated Series, DC Collectibles. This is the 48th figure in the line. Mr. Freeze. You can see he's got a ton of hands. It looks like 8 alternate hands, totaling 10 hands. He has his freeze cannon up here. And I will say, the previous release came with a snow globe of his wife Nora. This one seemed to take the coolest accessory and not include it. It looks like they actually painted his blaster this time. So on this side, just simply says Batman Series Mr. Freeze again. And on the back, there is a barcode here if anyone needs it, as well as simply the logo of Batman Animated Series. So let's go and check this guy out. And I did get 2 of these figures, one of which to open and enjoy, and one to keep in my unopened, complete 6 and 7 inch Batman action figure collection. And then here is the entire wave, 2 of each figure, one of which for me to open, and one of which for me to keep my unopened collection. At the bottom here, we've got 2 of the GCPD Rogues Gallery packs. Obviously I opened one of them, and I kept one unopened. This actually makes for a kind of cool diorama in your city. It's a building, you can stand figures on top of it. It's got some jail cells here. Originally, this set was retailed at $175, and if you do the math, even if you're saying $30 a figure, which is a ridiculous price, 5 figures, $150 is less than $175, so you got to actually pay quite a bit for the packaging as well. This set was overpriced. I got mine at dcbservice.com for $118. I got a considerable discount there. So I was really happy to get these guys. The set was great, very unique. The figures were pretty good as well. And here's my unopened set taking its rightful place in front of my Batman-related comics with my other recently acquired Batman action figures that are unopened. You can see them with some of the other recently released Batman the Animated Series figures. Alright, now that we got this figure out of the package, here he is with all of the accessories laid out. He does come with 8 additional hands, totaling 10 interchangeable hands. He also has his freeze ray, and he has a removable dome helmet. But before we look at the accessories, let's check out the actual figure. This guy here, I absolutely love Mr. Freeze from Batman the Animated Series. They captured the essence of that figure so well. They actually introduced his wife Nora and gave him some motivation besides just being a regular thief in the comics. You can see his face here, eyebrows up high, red goggles, pale face, emotionless, looking good. These, I don't even know what you call this on all of his joints. It looks really nice. These ones here are made of rubber versus the other ones that are plastic, and that will allow his arms to continue to be articulated. So Freeze suit's just looking good overall. Got his freeze stuff on the back, keeps him cold. Overall, I'd say this guy is a home run, great looking figure. That first episode of Mr. Freeze is a really, really exceptionally good one of Batman the Animated Series. And I did want to mention that I got my figure from dcbservice.com, discountcomicbookservice.com. I paid $19 for this guy. The suggested retail price, I believe, is $28, and dcbservice.com offers DC Collectibles figures for 33% off the suggested retail price, which is really cool. The only caveat to that is you have to order them months ahead of time, and they do not allow cancellations. And then here he is, broken down as far as he can go, with all of his removable parts detached, including his dome. Next, let's check out all of his accessories, starting off with his hands. Here he is wearing his fisted hands. Here he is wearing his next pair of hands. These ones are flat, outstretched, sort of relaxed. Here he is with some semi-open gripping hands, a little bit larger than his other pair. These are the best ones to hold his freeze ray. Here he is with some smaller semi-open gripping hands. And here he is with some more different shaped gripping hands. I must say I don't really understand why they give us so many different gripping hands, as he really only has one accessory to hold. Sure, one of these could probably hold his dome while he's taking it off, but I think they gave him about 2 pairs of hands too many. Next, let's look at his dome helmet. This thing here is made of plastic, transparent, simply fits on his head, keeps him cold and frozen. I like the fact that it's removable. Here he is wearing his dome helmet, looking excellent. And this is about as far inward as his shoulders allow his arms to go. Can't really hold his dome better than this. I would love to have had him holding it straight up and down as if he's about to put it on. Next, let's look at his freeze pistol. This thing is sculpted kind of decently, but it's completely bland as far as one silver color all the way around. No details painted on there. But I must say it's painted way better than the release from the 5-pack. That thing was pure white and was honestly kind of dumb. And then here are all the different freeze rays and cannons I have from different various Mr. Freeze releases over the years. Here he is holding his freeze pistol. As you can see, his trigger finger fits into the trigger area nicely. No problem holding this thing. Another accessory that I would like to talk about is this snow globe here. In the episode, he had the snow globe and he kept it with him, reminding him of his wife. This is one of the biggest differences. This thing came with the 5-pack and did not come with the individual release. It would have been really nice if this thing was painted, but still pretty cool for what it is. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at his accessories, next let's check out the height of this figure. So this figure here, from the bottom to the top of his head, not his dome, is about 6.25 inches, which is about 16 centimeters. And at the top of this dome is about 6.6 inches. Next, let's check out this guy's articulation. So starting with his head here, of course his dome can rotate around and it's removable. His head here can also rotate around. You're able to have him look down that far, which is pretty nice, and up that far, not too bad either. Shoulders have ball joint, a little bit obstructed by this stuff here around all of his joints. Go up, down, around, but if you want to go up, it has to stretch out like so. I couldn't even get this guy in a pose holding his pistol up next to his head. I couldn't get this guy to have a straight forearm pistol extended forward. Like I said, his arm just does not go up that way. Pretty disappointing. Now, this here is made of hard plastic like the rest of the figure. Now, this one and this one are made of rubber, and they're sort of movable, bendable, as you can see there. It allows you to use the articulation. These here are made of hard plastic as well. So his elbow here, you can kind of see inside of there, it's got a single joint, and this will allow it to go up. It doesn't even go 90 degrees, only goes forward that much. And it does have a swivel above that. His wrist here can rotate around. It's hinged. That's about it. Absolutely nothing going on in this area. No waist articulation, no ab crunch, no nothing. His legs are going to go out about that far, close to 90 degrees, but not quite. Go forward about that much, really, not much at all. Back, about that much, about the same. Single jointed knees, about 90 degrees, not quite. He's got a boot cut swivel there. Feet, and go up about that far, back down about that far, and that is going to be it. Next, let's check this guy out compared with some of their action figures. Starting off by looking at him compared with some of their Mr. Freeze figures. Here's the single carded Mr. Freeze on the right compared with the previous 5-pack release on the left. Pretty much the exact same figure. I just noticed that the purple and blue are a little bit lighter on the single release. Here he is with the rest of this wave of DC Collectibles Batman animated figures. And on the right hand side are the 4 recently released single carded figures, and on the left are the figures as they were released from the 5-pack. They seem to all have very minor paint differences. Poison Ivy has the biggest differences, then Killer Croc being a skin different color, then Mr. Freeze, and then Bane, who barely looks different at all. And here he is next to the new Batman Adventures Mr. Freeze. Here he is next to all the different DC Direct and DC Collectibles Mr. Freeze figures that I have. Here he is next to a DST or Diamond Strike Toys Mr. Freeze figure from the TV show Gotham. And here he is next to all the different Mattel Mr. Freeze figures that I have. From left to right, the first one is from the original line Batman. The next one is from DC Superheroes. I believe there is a DC Universe Classics version of that Freeze. It was like a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that I don't have. Of course, in the center we've got the DC Collectibles animated Freeze. Then we've got various 6-inch freezes from Power Attack, Total Heroes, and Batman Missions. And then here he is next to an Imaginext Mr. Freeze. Then here he is next to all the different Mr. Freeze figures in my collection. And then here in Gotham City, this is the part that is Mr. Freeze's lair. We've got this ice playset, some polar bears above it, the entrance to his lair, and then inside his base, here he is, reflecting upon his wife, Nora Freeze, wondering if he'll ever find a cure, and also a bunch of accessories on the table. Here he is next to several old Kenner Frostbite figures from the film Batman and Robin. These were Mr. Freeze henchmen from that film. Next, let's look at him compared with some other ice-themed characters. Here he is next to another DC villain named Icicle. Here he is next to a bunch of different Captain Cold figures. Captain Cold is another DC Freeze-themed villain. I've got multiples of a couple of these different Captain Colds with the intent to repaint his outfit into sort of normal snow gear. I think I'd use them as Mr. Freeze henchmen, but never really got around to it. Here he is next to a DC hero named Ice. I've always wished that one of the companies would give us a Killer Frost, which is another ice-themed villain. Here he is with a bunch of different ice-related Fortnite figures. From left to right, we've got Valkyrie, the Prisoner, Mr. Freeze, Ragnarok. The dragon at the top is a Frostwing, and then we've got the Ice King. And then Fire versus Ice. Here we've got Mr. Freeze taking out Firefly, 2 of Gotham's rogues, almost polar opposites. Here he is next to the Bat family from Batman the Animated Series. And then here he is next to the Bat family from the new Batman Adventures. Here he is next to the McFarlane DC Multiverse 7-inch scale Batman the Animated Series Batman. And here are all the different rogues they've released, specifically from Batman the Animated Series, not showing any of the new Batman Adventures villains. Next, let's check him out compared with some other action figure lines from different various companies to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to mix the lines. Here he is next to some of his DC Direct or DC Collectibles brothers. Here are 5 different action figures, all from DC Direct and Collectibles. And then here he is next to some DST or Diamond Select Toys. And here he is next to some McFarlane toys. And here he is next to some NECA figures. Then next to some Mattel wrestling figures. Here he is next to some Mezco 1/12 cloth soft goods action figures. Then here he is next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse figures. And now here he is next to some Mafex figures. Then, next to some Hasbro, Marvel Legends. And then, here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts action figures. And next to some Jazzwares figures. So overall, this Mr. Freeze is a pretty nice figure. I absolutely love the Batman Animated Series version of Mr. Freeze, at least a whole lot better than the new Batman Adventures. The first episode of Mr. Freeze was just a great episode. Gets your emotions running a little bit. This guy here, I'm also glad he almost fits in with the DC Universe Classics figures. Just a little bit too short, unlike Poison Ivy, who's a whole lot too short. His articulation is kind of weak. If I were to rate this guy, I'd give him a 6.5 out of 10. A lot of it is just because I really like the look of this figure from the animated series. If he was just a hair bigger, this guy would be a home run. This is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say about the video, add it to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.